Robert De Niro is a household name in Hollywood. For decades, his performances as a taxi driver and Irishman have influenced films. While De Niro's film personas are well known, little is known about the man's personal life. Robert has kept his private life a closely guarded secret despite being in the public eye for more than half a century. Now, his son has come forward to reveal the truth about his father's life. What will his son reveal? What hardships and obstacles did he have to overcome? Join us as we explore the story that sheds light on a previously unknown aspect of the famous actor's life. Early life and artistic roots. Born on the 17th of August, 1943, Robert Anthony De Niro was born in Manhattan, which is located in the city of New York. Robert De Niro was exposed to painting at a very young age as a result of the fact that both of his parents, Virginia Admiral and Robert De Niro Sr., were skilled painters respectively. His ancestry was a collection of many civilizations from throughout the world. His mother's background comprised Dutch, English, French, and German ancestry, while his father's history included Irish and Italian lineage of European descent. Unfortunately, the marriage between his parents did not endure very long. His parents divorced when De Niro was just 2 years old, and the reason for the divorce was that his father had disclosed that he was gay. Even though this may have been a problematic occurrence, Robert De Niro had a strong relationship with both of his parents throughout his whole life, particularly with his mother, who brought him up in the vibrant areas of Greenwich Village in Little Italy in Manhattan. His upbringing in these ethnically diverse neighborhoods of New York City had a significant influence on Robert De Niro. Due to the fact that he had light skin, Robert De Niro immediately became friends with the locals and earned the nickname Bobby Milk. The streets were full of intriguing people. The majority of the friendships that Robert De Niro formed in Little Italy remained with him throughout his whole life, although his father did not always approve of the company that he kept. Although his mother was an atheist and his father had been a Catholic who separated himself from the church, De Niro's grandparents discreetly had him baptized into the Catholic Church. This occurred even though his parents had different perspectives on religion. The fact that he would grow up with a diverse range of influences, which would shape his personality in ways that were subtle but significant, was hinted at by this insignificant deed that occurred during his boyhood, the moment when he first became interested in performing. At a young age, Robert De Niro developed a strong interest in acting. It was in PS 41, a public primary school in Manhattan, that he began his path as an actor. PS 41 was his first school. When De Niro was just 10 years old, he participated in the performance of The Wizard of Oz that was put on by his school. He played the part of the Cowardly Lion. It was via his performance that he was able to experience the limelight, and he quickly discovered that acting was a means by which he could overcome his innate shyness and express himself. Following his completion of primary school, De Niro went on to attend several schools located in New York City. After completing his high school education at Elizabeth Irwin High School, he went on to attend the highly regarded High School of Music and Art for some time. On the other hand, De Niro's journey was not an easy one. He went through some different school transfers before finally enrolling in public junior high and high schools, such as McBurney School and Rhodes Preparatory School. At this point, Robert De Niro had already fallen in love with the film industry and acting. He was so driven by his enthusiasm that he left high school at the age of 16 to follow his passion on a full-time basis. After some time had passed, Robert De Niro reflected on his decision and remarked, "When I was around 18 years old, I was looking at a television show, and I said, if these actors are making a living at it and they aren't that good, I can't do any worse than them." Because of his dogged persistence, he attended some of the most prestigious acting institutions in New York City, such as HB Studio, Lee Strasberg's Actors Studio, and the Stella Adler Conservatory. It was there that he was taught the renowned Stanislavski style of acting, which ultimately led to his success in Hollywood and his rise to the status of a legend. It was not an easy beginning for De Niro's career. Although he appeared in a few supporting parts in films such as Encounter and Le Jeune Loup, it wasn't until 1968 that he was cast in his first important role, which was in the satirical picture Greetings, which was about men who were trying to dodge the draft for the Vietnam War. In addition to providing Robert De Niro with the opportunity to demonstrate his acting abilities, this picture marked the beginning of a cooperation between De Niro and filmmaker Brian De Palma. Not long after that, he had roles in the films Sam's Song and The Wedding Party, the latter of which was not made available to the public until 6 years after it had been shot. De Niro's brilliance was recognized, despite the fact that he was still relatively unknown at the time. As a result of his work in The Wedding Party, he was lauded by the New York Times, and his performances continued to garner the attention of industry experts. He portrayed the role of one of Ma Barker's criminal sons in the film Bloody Mama, which was directed by Roger Corman and released in 1970. Following that, he worked with De Palma again in the film Hi Mom, where he received much acclaim for his unbridled spontaneity of performance. These early films laid the groundwork for what was to follow, which was his breakout into significant parts in Hollywood motion pictures. His performance as Vito Corleone in The Godfather Part 2, for which he was awarded his first Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, catapulted Robert De Niro to a new level of celebrity in the year 1974. The world was shown that he was a force to be reckoned with in the world of acting by his performance, which was hailed for its passion and devotion. In the film Raging Bull, directed by Martin Scorsese, he played the role of Jake LaMotta, a disturbed boxer, and received his second Academy Award, this time for Best Actor. This was just 6 years after his first Oscar. It was via this part that he demonstrated his capacity to delve deeply into the feelings and mind of a character, which solidified his position as one of the most talented actors in Hollywood. De Niro has starred in some films that are considered to be among the most famous in the history of cinema, including Taxi Driver, The Deer Hunter, Goodfellas, and The Irishman. Throughout his career, he has been nominated for some Academy Awards, and he has become well known for his commitment to his art, as well as his ability to entirely convert into the characters he portrays. Flicks such as Analyze This and Meet the Parents are examples of his acting career, which spans a wide range of genres, including comedies, dramas, and even crime flicks. Even though he is most recognized for his acting, Robert De Niro has established himself as a director, directing films such as A Bronx Tale and The Good Shepherd. In addition to his contributions to the film business, he assisted in the establishment of Tribeca Productions and the Tribeca Film Festival. There is no denying the legacy that Robert De Niro has left behind, since his career has spanned more than half a century, and his impact on the film industry, as well as culture, is still being felt today. Not only does this trip demonstrate his skill, but it also demonstrates his ambition to continue pushing the boundaries of what acting can be. He went from being a little child growing up in the streets of Manhattan to being one of the most acclaimed actors in Hollywood. You may not be aware of this, but one of Robert De Niro's most significant regrets is not connected to a particular film or performance. When Vanity Fair reached out to him in 1987 for an interview, they were well aware of his reputation for avoiding interviews, particularly those that touched on his personal life. Vanity Fair's attempt to have an interview with him was successful. In an interview with Time magazine, Robert De Niro had previously expressed his feelings toward interviews, stating, "Upon the completion of my initial films, I participated in interviews. Then I pondered, what exactly is it about my interests and the school that I attended that is so significant? On the other hand, what does any of it have to do with acting? With my imagination? None of it." How Robert De Niro interacts with the media in the present day is influenced by his reluctance to provide personal information. Although he does do interviews, most of them are centered on his job, and they take very little time to dive into his personal life. Evidently, De Niro acquired the ability to establish limits at an early age. An excellent illustration of this is the interview that parade reporter Barbara Goldsmith had with him in the year 1984. It was said that after their chat, De Niro contacted her not once, but twice. The first time, he called her to clarify what aspects of their conversation would be released, and the second time, he called her to express remorse for ever consenting to the interview. This reticence to open out has become a defining characteristic of his professional life. Sean Levy, a biographer, writes in his book, De Niro, A Life, that Robert De Niro's picture, New York, New York, which was released in 1977, received such a significant amount of media attention that it caused him to completely quit doing interviews for 4 years. Since then, he has maintained a careful approach to interviews, with the primary emphasis being placed on his professional accomplishments rather than his personal life. Taking into consideration his private life, were you aware that he had a contentious relationship with his father until recently? Robert De Niro's relationship with his father. At the same time as he was full of admiration, Robert De Niro Sr. was difficult to understand. Both De Niro and his father were accomplished artists, and De Niro has frequently expressed the profound admiration that he had for his father's work. As a means of preserving his father's presence, Robert De Niro disclosed in an interview with Out magazine in 2016 that he had attempted to keep his father's art studio in the same condition as it was when he died away. "It was the only way to keep his being, his life alive," he remarked, highlighting the emotional weight that he connected to the legacy that his father had left behind. At all times, Robert De Niro has referred to his father as a brilliant artist, which is a feeling that is shared by a vast number of art critics. The Metropolitan Museum of Art has acquired many paintings by Robert De Niro Sr., and The Guardian has even referred to him as a child genius. However, the creative achievement that Robert De Niro Sr. achieved was not without its own hurdles, notably those that centered on his identity and the difficulties he had as a gay man. De Niro said that his father frequently told him that great artists are appreciated many, many years after they have passed away. This was a reflection of the difficulties that De Niro had to go through. The divorce of De Niro's parents occurred when he was still a youngster, and as De Niro grew older, he began to have a greater understanding of the emotional struggles that his father went through. Following the passing of his father, Robert De Niro was able to receive his father's diaries. Nevertheless, he was only able to have the courage to read the passages that were utilized for an art history book. In one of his entries, Robert De Niro Sr. described the inner anguish. The emotionally complicated nature of their connection continues to be an important aspect of De Niro's life, despite the fact that it is frequently kept hidden. Taxi Driver and the Dark Side of Fame. Although Taxi Driver went on to become one of the most memorable films in Robert De Niro's career, it also marked the beginning of a difficult period in his career. Martin Scorsese is the director of the film, which depicts the story of a mentally unstable taxi driver. Taxi Driver is said to have been the source of inspiration for Hinckley's acts, a relationship that both De Niro and the other actors involved in the film found to be haunting. In 1987, while Vanity Fair was in the process of drafting a profile on Robert De Niro, they got some advice that advised them not to bring up Taxi Driver during the interview. A director and friend of Robert De Niro named Ulo Grossbard cautioned the magazine that the subject matter would cause him a great deal of distress. According to the book De Niro, A Life, written by Sean Levy, the connection between Taxi Driver and Hinckley was a sensitive subject for Robert De Niro. During the events day, Robert De Niro was excitedly awaiting the results of the 1,981 Academy Awards, where he was hoping to find out if Raging Bull would be awarded any prizes. As opposed to being a time for celebration, the evening was dominated by conversations on the connection between the film. De Niro declined to comment on the occasion, even though the press was interested in its coverage. In response to the question of what he thought, he responded unequivocally, "I do not wish to discuss the matter at this time. Look, I was able to express my thoughts and feelings during the Oscars. You're indeed all polite, but only that." De Niro, who has always kept a distinct boundary between his work and the public's understanding of it, came up with a statement that was characteristic of him. He continues to be cautious of his privacy, particularly when it comes to incidents that are perceived as being contentious. One of the most painful tales that occurred in Hollywood was the unexpected death of comedian John Belushi in the year 1982. Hollywood is no stranger to terrible stories for sure. As improbable as it may appear, John Belushi and Robert De Niro were good friends. They frequently spent time together at the Chateau Marmont, which was Belushi's favorite place to hang out. It is said in the book written by Sean Levy that Robert De Niro had been spending time with actor Harry Dean Stanton on the evening before John Belushi passed away. The individuals made an effort to get Belushi to accompany them on a night out, but Belushi denied their invitation, stating that he was with a guest called Kathy Smith, who was supposedly someone that Robert De Niro did not like. Following Belushi's acceptance of the invitation, De Niro exited and continued with the rest of his evening. Upon waking up the following morning, he was confronted with the heartbreaking news that Belushi had passed dead. According to Levy, it is possible that Robert De Niro experienced some feelings of regret because he did not spend that final night with his buddy. Robert De Niro's devotion to totally immersing himself in roles, and Belushi had been rehearsing for a part as a rock star at the time. Although De Niro never made a public statement on the demise of his buddy, he was called to testify before an inquest that was conducted by a grand jury investigating Belushi's death. Although there was legal involvement, De Niro has maintained the confidentiality of the circumstances of their friendship and the sad night in question. These events in Robert De Niro's life provide a look inside the private world of one of the most guarded personalities in Hollywood in the entertainment industry. His personal experiences, which are filled with regret, complicated relationships, and sorrow, are generally concealed from public view, even though he has provided us with some of the most unforgettable performances on screen. What about Robert De Niro's personal life? Other than the fact that we are familiar with him for his iconic parts on screen. A life that is rich in relational and familial contentment. Despite the fact that his professional life may be the most prominent aspect of his life, Robert De Niro's personal journey, particularly his relationships and his position as a parent, is just as eventful. In 1976, Robert De Niro tied the knot with the actress Deanne Abbott, and the pair went on to have a son named Raphael. In the beginning, Raphael was interested in performing, but he eventually decided to pursue a career in real estate in New York. In addition, De Niro adopted Drina, Deanne's daughter, from a previous relationship, so establishing a blended family unit. The marriage between De Niro and Abbott, on the other hand, collapsed in the year 1988. In the years following their divorce, Robert De Niro had a committed relationship with the model Tookie Smith, which lasted from 1988 till 1996. In the year 1995, they were blessed with the arrival of twin sons, Julian and Aaron. The in vitro fertilization process was used to create the twins, and a surrogate mother was responsible for their birth. Despite the fact that De Niro's relationship with Smith concluded, the size of his family continued to expand. When Robert De Niro married the actress Grace Hightower in 1997, he had already gone through the process of becoming a parent on many occasions. But there were going to be additional children. The year 1998 marked the birth of De Niro's son, Elliot, who was born during his marriage to Grace Hightower. The pair did not formally divorce each other and instead reaffirmed their vows in 2004, despite the fact that they had filed for divorce in 1999. Helen, their daughter, was born through surrogacy in 2011, which resulted in the expansion of their family once again. For some time, it appeared as though De Niro and Hightower had found stability. In 2014, they even moved into a luxurious apartment that stood at 6,000 square feet and was located in the Central Park West neighborhood of New York City. However, in 2018, after 20 years of marriage, they decided to end their union definitively. The stunning information that caused headlines to surface. Even though De Niro is a well-known actor, becoming a father has faced him with its own unique set of difficulties. In the virtual divorce case that took place in 2021, Robert De Niro's attorney contended that he was. According to reports, Hightower's legal team said that after the couple divorced in 2018, De Niro had been reducing the amount of financial support that he owes to Hightower. The stress that can accompany even the most successful persons when family relationships are involved was brought to light by these contentious court fights. However, the most unexpected thing that occurred in Robert De Niro's personal life occurred in April of 2023, when he became a father for the 7th time to his 7th child with his fiancée, Tiffany Chen. When Robert De Niro, who was 79 years old at the time, disclosed the information in an interview, he stunned the general public. The reporter made the assumption that Robert De Niro had 6 children as he was talking about his film About My Father. However, he corrected her and stated that he now had 7 children. Even De Niro's closest friends were taken aback when they learned that his daughter, Gia Virginia Chen De Niro, had arrived. Sebastian Maniscalco, who also performed alongside Robert De Niro in the film About My Father, said that he was unaware that De Niro was having a child. He stated, "I was informed today that he had the baby. The fact that he was going to have a child was something I was unaware of before this, but my goodness, may God bless him." In spite of the fact that De Niro is a very private guy, he ultimately gave CBS News a photo of his newborn daughter Gia, therefore proudly revealing to the world his new baby girl. Both the highs and lows of being a parent. Throughout his life, Robert De Niro has frequently pondered his function as a parent. As a response to the question of what sort of parent he is, Robert De Niro has been modest and grounded in reality, saying, "I don't think I'm a cool father. I am all right. Although there are moments when they disagree with me, my children are courteous." He continued by saying that even though his youngest daughter, Gia, is just starting in life, there would be more to come in terms of his journey as a father in the future. De Niro, who is 79 years old, is fully aware of the difficulties that come with being an older parent. Yet, he finds delight in the experience. And he has stated that holding his newborn girl makes everything else disappear. During a recent interview with Chris Wallace, Robert De Niro provided even more insight into his beliefs about the process of aging and the role of being a father. The response that Robert De Niro gave when asked if he disliked getting older was, "I have no choice. Take it in stride. Accept whatever it is that has been sent your way." After the topic of discussion shifted to his position as a father throughout his life, De Niro made a revelation that took everyone by surprise. "The best I can do is try. That was something that was on my mind the other day. I beg you to pardon me for anything that I have done that is within your power to do." When Wallace intervened and asked if Robert De Niro considered that he had not been a good parent, De Niro responded with a witty remark such as, "Nah, no, I tried my best is all I would say." This statement demonstrated that De Niro was cognizant of the flaws that are unavoidable in parenting, particularly while he was juggling such a demanding profession. Despite the fact that he acknowledges that his business keeps him quite busy, he has never stopped feeling a profound affection for his children. He had his first marriage to Dion Abbott, which resulted in the birth of his two oldest children, Drina and Raphael. Then, in 1995, he gave birth to twin sons named Julian and Aaron, who were born to him and Tookie Smith. In the course of his marriage to Grace Hightower, Robert De Niro became a father to his fifth and sixth children, Elliot and Helen for short. His family is continuing to expand, as seen by the birth of Gia, who is his seventh child. Being a father, on the other hand, has not always been an easy task. At one point in time, Robert De Niro made the observation that being a father is filled with both happy and sorrowful times. In his description, he explained how children ultimately mature and become more independent, such as when they no longer want to hold their hand on the walk to school. The enjoyment that his children provide him is something that De Niro treasures, despite the fact that there are times when it is bittersweet. Gia, his youngest baby girl, brings him a lot of happiness. The actor Robert De Niro is a grandfather in addition to being a father to 7 children. His oldest daughter, Drina, is a mother to a kid, and his young son, Raphael, is a father to 3 children of his own. Given that Gia is an aunt to teens, the age gap that exists between his children and grandkids has resulted in some unusual aspects of the relationship. I would describe the bond between De Niro and his children and grandkids as everything to me. Seeing all of his children and grandchildren together is a source of enormous delight for De Niro. Regrettably, the year 2023 also brought a tragedy to the family of Robert De Niro. Leandro, the grandson of Robert De Niro and the son of Drina's death, occurred in July. Leandro was just 19 years old. In the same way that the characters he plays on television are complicated, Robert De Niro's personal life is also full of multiple intricacies. His path through motherhood and family life represents both the joys and the hardships that come along with it. He is a father of 7 children, and he has navigated several marriages and relationships. The glimpses that he has provided indicate a guy who is passionately dedicated to his family, even as he balances the demands of his exceptional profession. This is even though he keeps a significant portion of his personal life completely hidden. In connection with this topic, Robert De Niro, who is known for playing difficult parts in cinema, recently revealed a more sensitive side while discussing parenting. He described himself as a father who is doing his best. De Niro was asked for his opinion on whether or not he believed he had been a good parent to his 7 children during an open and honest conversation that took place on September 13 with Chris Wallace. Given that he stated, "I'm trying my best. I'm going to put it on my gravestone," it was apparent that the question affected him. It was my best effort. As Robert De Niro pondered on his path as a parent, he acknowledged that his business kept him busy, but he always did what he could for his children. This brought up the feelings that he had been working through. Wallace continued his questioning by asking Robert De Niro if he had not been a good parent. In response, De Niro stated unequivocally, "No, I tried my best." Wallace continued his questioning. The fact that he is a parent was something that occupies a significant amount of his thoughts. He went so far as to reveal that he had been contemplating it recently, envisioning what he would like to be inscribed on his headstone. When he claimed that he would include the statement, "Please forgive me for everything that I've done," he also said that he would include the phrase, "I tried my best." During this particular moment, the profound emotional complexities that come with becoming a father while also having a hard profession in Hollywood were caught. De Niro stressed that he has a profound affection for his children, despite the difficulties that come with juggling job and family responsibilities. During a conversation about his youngest daughter, Gia, Robert De Niro revealed that he is there to assist his girlfriend, Tiffany Chen, even though he is not the primary caregiver for her. "I am by my girlfriend's side, but she is the one who puts in the effort," De Niro revealed. He went on to say that having assistance is necessary in order to successfully manage the obligations of raising a small child at his age. The candidness with which Robert De Niro discussed the challenges of being a father, in conjunction with his contemplation on the process of aging, provided his audience with a unique opportunity to see the personal side of a guy who typically keeps his private life a secret. In response to a question regarding his death, he said, "Of course, I think about it considering my age. The value of time, according to De Niro, has increased, and he is determined to make the most of each and every moment spent with his family." His children have provided some insights into how they perceive him and what they think of him, despite the fact that Robert De Niro may have doubts about whether or not he has been a decent father. Raphael, the eldest son of Robert De Niro, did, at one point, provide a look into his feelings toward his renowned father. In the past, Raphael, who is currently working in real estate, had attempted acting for the purpose of following in his father's footsteps. Raphael has expressed his admiration for his father's work ethic and devotion, both as an actor and as a parent, despite the fact that he eventually abandoned the business. Drana, the eldest daughter of Robert De Niro, also shares a similar strong relationship with her father. She has discussed how her father's influence molded her life, not just in terms of her professional life, but also in terms of who she is as a person. Even though her father was juggling his hectic job, Drana, who is an actor and filmmaker, has maintained a supportive connection with her father throughout her whole life. De Niro made sure that his children got his love and instruction whenever he could, even though growing up in the limelight was not always an easy experience. Other children of Robert De Niro, such as his twin sons Julian and Aaron, as well as his younger children Elliot and Helen, have witnessed their father's efforts to be there despite the responsibilities that his job has placed on him. De Niro has been quite candid about the highs and lows that come with being a parent, including both happy and tragic circumstances. It is natural for children to become more autonomous as they get older, which can be challenging for parents to accept at times or in certain circumstances. In his speech, De Niro described how it feels when someone no longer wants to kiss you goodbye or hold your hand when you say goodbye. The children of Robert De Niro, however, are grateful for the efforts that their father has made and continues to make for them, despite the inevitable difficulties that they face. He has seen an increase in happiness as a result of the arrival of his youngest daughter, Gia. According to De Niro, she is a source of enormous delight, and he remarked that simply gazing at her makes everything else seem insignificant. Despite the significant age gap between them, his elder children and even his grandkids receive a great deal of enjoyment from having Gia around. This is because she is their aunt, which creates a unique relationship. At the end of the day, Robert De Niro's musings on parenting show a guy who, much like the majority of parents, is attempting to be the best he can be while also accepting his shortcomings. Because of the efforts that he has consistently put forth to be a present and loving father, his children have grown up with love and respect for him. This is despite the difficulties that he has had in his personal life and his professional life. As Robert De Niro continues to embrace his position as a father, both to his older children and to his newborn daughter, he is committed to making the most of every minute he spends with his family. What are your thoughts on the efforts that Robert De Niro made to maintain a healthy balance between his professional life and his role as a father? Given the circumstances, do you believe that he did the best that he could have done? Leave your opinions in the comments section below, and don't forget to press the notification bell, like, and subscribe to the channel for more great stories.